Hi everyone!
Hi everyone, welcome to the Pit Wall Chat, number 1.
The first episode. This is a bit awkward, but I guess we'll get better with it.
Super excited to be here.
So excited.
Yeah, cool. So, short background about our F1 story. Started with Drive to Survive in 2020.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
during lockdown because no one had a life.
Yeah,
So
got hooked and followed the last season very closely, which now makes us the utmost experts on F1. But we will mostly be talking about very relevant and not so much history of F1 because it's a bit relevant with our expertise.
yeah, pretty much like how we feel about the races and the drivers and yeah. Anyways, last season of season 3 of Drive to Survive just came out, and obviously we binged it like there was no tomorrow.
No tomorrow. Any instant reactions? You think it went well?
Yeah.
How did you feel about the show, rather?
Right. Well, obviously liked it. But like I understand the format of following the teams because then you get more in depth with each team because then they follow them over a longer period of time. But it's also sort of frustrating because you feel like they missed some races.
It's definitely more frustrating to watch when you've actually seen the season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because the previous 2 seasons of Drive to Survive,
Yeah.
I haven't actually watched any F1.
Same.
So it's a good way to get into the drama and
Exactly.
seeing all of it. When you've seen the season, and especially the 2020 season, it felt like there was a lot of important moments that were that was taken away.
Yeah, because I feel like probably in the previous seasons, like especially with Mercedes dominance, like they sort of have to make the drama. Like there's a bit of drama within the teams, but they sort of create it. They add an extra layer of drama to make it into an interesting show.
Yeah.
But the problem with the 2020 is that the season in itself had so much drama already with like COVID and
Yeah.
all the contracts and the team swapping and stuff.
Yeah, they could have made a bigger deal out of that for sure.
Well, yeah, but my point is it's hard to put everything in 10 episodes of 40 minutes. So
I think they should have done what we talked about. They should have made a season 3A and season 3B.
True.
Just to cover it all.
Yeah, so like 3A is following the teams, and then 3B is just going race by race to get everything. But I guess that's out of budget.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they did, as normal, a good job because they create the narrative like they usually would, and not necessarily follow it by race, but follow it. But there was some. It's almost like when you've seen this season, you almost wish there was an episode per race.
Yeah.
It's like the one that is stuck out in my mind, at least, is the Turkish one. And it's like, what a shame to not make. They could have just like taken Sky Sports F1 coverage of FP1 to the race and made that an episode because that was way too entertaining to.
It really was. Well, Turkish, for those you didn't necessarily remember, is like the track itself was so slippery that you didn't know how it would turn out. And
I think they laid new tarmac or asphalt
like
a week out.
And that's the race where Lewis became the 7th-time world champion.
And surpassed the wins.
Yeah, and it was so good because you actually didn't know who was going to win because Mercedes wasn't doing great that weekend at all. And
Lance, pole position.
Yeah, like the two Racing Point actually first and second on the grid.
Lance pole position, Sergio second,
and then Max third as usual.
And then
yeah, but it shows Lewis' brilliance because he just waited his turn, made the calls for like the pit stop and stuff. So that's where you see his experience because contrary to BOTTAS, he's actually choosing when to pit and stuff and just waited his turn and ended up winning the race again.
Definitely one of his strengths is that he's, well, if you see like all the races, which we haven't, but you see all the mistakes he's done, and then how he tied it all in this season. Sort of, it's like, no, I'm not gonna go in a pit. Like that pit lane is probably slippery. It's a good chance of me crashing there.
Yeah, because he did it before in 2016.
Yeah.
So
And also listening to the data that people that changed to the intermediate ones. Tires, they weren't necessarily going as fast as first believed when
True.
they changed late. So it's better to drive on the wets when they turn into slicks. So yeah, definitely a good race. And then obviously you have they showed Monza and a bit of that chaos that was happening, but at the same time not as much about the chaos. But it is like they follow the story, not the race.
That's a good point though, because it's not chronological.
Chronological.
You sort of see it from different angles, like from the different teams, which is also interesting. But it's also like, I've seen this race with Ferrari, and then you see it again with McLaren, and then you see it again with another team. So you end up seeing the same race like 5 times or something, which is interesting to get the point of views. But at the same
behind
time,
the scenes, what you wouldn't have seen in the
but at the same time, it's a bit confusing.
Yeah, because it's like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is when Sergio's engine blew out for the 50th time.
Let's talk about Sergio. Like,
oh yeah, very exciting.
Very exciting. Yeah, true.
Red Bull driver now.
Yeah.
Looked very strong in testing.
I think it's also a bit funny because throughout last season, I didn't necessarily like him, to be honest.
That's something else we can talk about, Drive to Survive as well. They kind of make drivers villains.
Yeah, they definitely have a narrative for each driver.
Yeah, you weren't the biggest Sebastian Vettel fan going into the season.
True. Because I don't know, like the way last season, like season 2 of Drive to Survive, was, they sort of made Charles like sort of the good guy, and Sebastian as, the old driver that wouldn't
accept that the new up and coming was better than him.
Exactly. But then when you watch the interviews and everything, like you see Sebastian is actually like a super nice guy and funny and everything. So as the 2020 season went by, I grew to like him a lot more.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it was the same with Sergio as well.
Yeah.
In season 1 or whatever, when it's like, well, Lance is coming into the team, one has to go, and it looks like Sergio gets to stay only because he's
got the money.
He's got the money, which he definitely has. But
as
you saw in this season, he's a damn strong driver as well. And compared to Esteban, it must have been like a no-brainer, really.
True. Well, no, like in last season of Drive to Survive, they also, were selling Esteban as a great Mercedes, like the next star.
They do put some narratives which you kind of don't pick up on.
Yeah, when you're actually following the season.
It's sort of like, well, is this really...
Yeah, because then Esteban compared to Ricardo...
wasn't doing that hot. Like, he was doing okay, but...
Yeah, but that's
the first season back as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he didn't have... I think 1 season, maybe 2 before the break?
One season off.
Yeah, but before that, like, was it...
I think he was in Force India 1 year or something.
Yeah, so it's like a rookie, then a break of a year, and then back in the car.
Yeah.
So it makes sense he didn't do stellar, but still, like, if he's such a talent for Mercedes to follow and manage and stuff, you would expect more.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, anyways, I'm very happy for Sergio, even though, I must say, I'm a big Alex Albon fan. I'm sad to see him leave.
Such a fanboy over him.
He's one of the good guys.
I think he's just too nice.
I think, that's what they said in the series as well. He needs more of that fuck you or fuck everyone attitude.
Yeah, like even during the last races of the season, he wasn't even driving like he had nothing to lose. No. I don't know, always...
Yeah, it was a bit, I don't know, it just was clear. It was like he just didn't have the confidence in the car and ultimately lost confidence in what he could do with the car, and even as he got better. He's a
great racer, but he never does that hot on Saturdays, like during quali. No. So then he always has to play catch up during the race, which like he does great, but then if you're catching up the entire race, you're not going to fight for podiums next to Max, which is what Red Bull is expecting, so they can actually fight for championships.
Yeah. I think it would have been interesting to see with the new car. Like, it seems very much improved from last season, not as snappy. And I think he would have a easier time this year and could maybe be a bit more up there. But I think ultimately Sergio is probably like a more solid choice, like in instant performance. But I think long term, I don't think necessarily Sergio's the way they're gonna go. They want to have a junior in there. Like, Sergio is probably not gonna get a contract for more than 2-3 years.
I think Red Bull, like, they've been waiting 7 years now since their last championship win. So
Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily want to play it long term anymore. They want that title.
Yeah. No, I think they want to play it long term, but I think they want the title first now.
Yeah. Like, it's been too long, I think, for them to wait. And it's like, we'll see if Alex can do a better job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. Jumping into the next subject.
Well, sort of a follow-up on this. Like, do you think Red Bull can actually win the championship in 2021?
I think so. I'm always going to think Red Bull has a shot. Well, we just finished testing, and obviously I'm not going to read too much into the testing because it is Mercedes. They have won 7 titles in a row. Doesn't matter how bad they look, really. I think they're going to be ready from the start.
Yeah, I still think they, like, obviously testing wasn't great at all for Mercedes. Like, they lost 1 day in total, I think, over on 3. But I still think they're playing their, like, hiding a bit what they have. Because now looking back on last season with Drive to Survive, I forgot about it, but the DAS system, like, was a bit of the scandal last season. So
they
if they have
put that on the first race, not in the testing as well.
No, I think it was testing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. They were like, it has everyone talking during this testing. So I think they learned from the mistake. So they're like, well, if we have that great superior innovation that allows us to win even more, we're not going to do it like last year and show everyone during testing. We're going to show it the first race so that they sort of gain, like, they save 2 weeks during the complaints and everything for the FIA to look into it.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, because I'm sort of like, if you make something and the teams complain about it in testing and they deem it to be, no, this is actually not legal, then you're just asked to take it off before the season starts. If you show up to the first race with something that isn't legal, you're going to get penalties and lose places on the grid.
Well, they didn't say that DAS wasn't legal. It was just
too
good.
They deemed it legal, but then it was like, well, so they were allowed to use it for the rest of the season, but ultimately,
now it's
not anymore.
Yeah. But still, like, it's less time for the competitors to copy.
No, yeah, for sure. So I agree that they probably have something close. Like, they wouldn't have brought everything to the testing now to show their hand anyways, which is why I think they would have liked to run all 3 sessions with what they were planning to test, because I don't think they were planning to show their hand anyways. But now it's like they didn't show their hand and they didn't get to finish the test. I think there was like the fundamental stuff of the car. Okay, this has to work, and if that works, then we can put this on. But I think they weren't going to reveal anything, but they didn't reveal anything, and they didn't get to run as much as they wanted to.
I don't know. I still think it was a bit on purpose, because I don't know. I think they're aware that they're sort of killing the sport because they're so dominant and there's no, like, drama or anything over who's going to win the championship. So maybe they're like, well, we can make testing interesting so that actually the first race, they don't know who's going to win yet, even though...
Well, if they think that way, then I don't think Mercedes is going to be that's not a mentality to have if you want to continue to be the dominant. Well, you don't start... That's getting complacent. That's like, well, we're going to win anyways, we're so good, so we're just not going to run testing. Like, That's how you lose.
No, but maybe they want to make it interesting a bit for the fans.
Yeah, but for what? Yeah, it's like for the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you can't read anything into testing anyways. Like they could have driven if they drove like if they drove all sessions but ended up like at the bottom of the list like time wise, everyone would be like, well, maybe they're not that great. We don't know. It's like the same
Well,
thing.
that's sort of what happens, because then it's even worse. It's like, oh, they lost a day of testing. It means, they're not as ready as the other seasons and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't look at testing as like this is when everyone reveals their hand necessarily on everything. I think it's like you want to do the tests. There's a reason why they have testing at all. If they didn't want to reveal their hand and didn't have to do testing, then I wouldn't have shown up at all. Then they could have just like had the launch car as they had and just like drove around in circles and just like, well, we're just not going to reveal. We're just so confident that it's going to work. They don't know if it works yet.
Yeah, but maybe they're like, oh, we're going to make them think it doesn't work and that we're having problems and stuff. And
no, but that's one thing. But I don't think they will just sacrifice it when they have 3 days of testing and.
Yeah. Or maybe they're like, it's only 3 days anyways.
Like, it's like 10% of the downforce is removed.
Anyways, so you think Red Bull actually has a shot at the championship?
I think so. I think they're very strong.
Well, compared to other years, apparently what happened before is that Red Bull always... It's like they're ending the season on a high because they're working super hard and super well like the entire season. Then, they end the season on a high, and then when testing comes again...
Yeah, they're a bit slow off the start. Like
exactly.
They don't hit the ground running, as they say themselves.
Right, and that's what they wanted to change this season, so they can be more competitive against Mercedes.
Yeah, from the beginning. That's sort of what they're lacking. I think from what we can see at testing, at least like if Mercedes is just joking around, pretending like they have problems, then Red Bull at least showed that they had a better testing than normal. It's like I don't think Red Bull necessarily showed their hand either. Like even though they topped the speed times during testing, I think they probably have some extra in there as well, and I think they have a better shot than before, at least at getting the title from Mercedes in this hybrid era.
For sure, because Max is just a shark, so that's already good, and the car seems better than the previous years.
Yeah, and Sergio is a Mexican shark.
There's a tequila shark. Mm-hmm. Like having the second driver that can actually fight for podiums, which I haven't had for 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
So all of that combined makes for a better shot at the championship, but I still think Lewis is gonna. It's
hard to say no to that. Yeah. Like it's sort of like what else are we gonna predict? Sort of like Mercedes has won the last 7.
Yeah.
He's probably just as strong as last season, so there's no reason to think that he won't be in the fight. At the top of the fight. It's more who can bring it to him rather than him having to chase another title, really. Yeah,
but do you think BOTTAS can actually get in the way this year? Because last year wasn't really that big of a challenge for Lewis, really.
No. So I think regardless, last season BOTTAS didn't like his performance just weren't there. Like he has the components, like he has all the different. He's been working on it every season. Like one season he's good at that, and one season he gets better at that. He just have to combine them all. But last season I don't think he was able to combine them, and he had a bunch of bad luck, so to say. So it was a combination. I don't think he would have really challenged. I think he would have challenged Lewis a bit more. But ultimately, I don't think he would have won the title last year.
Well, I think we disagree on this. Like, what you call BOTTAS bad luck, I call Lewis experience. Because, again, like, BOTTAS is not as experienced, and so he tends to follow whatever Mercedes says. And then Lewis...
it's a bit more listening to the team.
Yeah, so, like, the same exact field, like, BOTTAS is gonna fall in the traps, whereas Lewis did it before, so... Like, it's not necessarily bad luck, it's just that Lewis knows better and knows how to avoid the traps and the bad luck. So
Yeah, but it's a bit like Bottas was first and drives over debris, which made him lose like
yeah, no,
tons of time. He's
that's
had some retirements as well as like his tire. Both him and Lewis's tire blew up, but his blew up a bit before, so he couldn't finish.
yeah,
And Lewis
that's
blew up like I don't know 30 meters away from the finish line.
no longer. But
Yeah, but
yeah,
he
but
was
then
he was able to do it.
the bad luck that I'm talking about that they can actually change is like wrong tire calls and wrong
Yeah.
pit stop calls and stuff. So that's
Yeah,
more the thing
that's
you
where
can
Lewis
control.
is a bit better. He's
Yeah.
like, well, he's always gonna say these tires are gone, man, and then be like, don't call me in. I don't want to
Yeah.
go in.
And then fastest lap, fastest lap, fastest lap.
Exactly. So it's like, so he definitely has more experience, but I think Bottas had some misfortune last year combined with less experience than Lewis. I think this year, if he can combine like everything, like qualifying pace last year was really good. He was
Yeah.
up there pushing Lewis. His driving, as like with the Drive to Survive now, like you see he's kind of tactical, going for third instead of second.
Oh yeah, the Russian Grand Prix. That was pretty funny. Yeah, but I still don't think he has a shot. Anyways.
I think he has a shot, but it's about I believe in the other guy.
Right.
I
What
think
about Ferrari this year? Like, obviously they're not going to bring the fight to Mercedes, but do you think they're in a better position than last year? Well, it's hard to be worse, but how much better?
It looks like they will be a bit better. They got sixth, I think, last
Yeah,
year.
it's pretty terrible. Like, worst season since the 80s or something.
Yeah, 84 or whatever. I think they're gonna be better, but not necessarily that much better. I don't think they're gonna go for third necessarily.
No.
Like fourth is maybe like that's a really good season for them. Fifth, like I don't know. It doesn't really matter for them this year, really, because it's like I think they made it pretty clear that it's like every other team that isn't fighting for wins. They are just like it's 2022. We're focusing on.
Yeah.
So this is just like damage control, really. They just have to show that they've done like a step up. Like if they're a bit more competitive, get some more podiums. It doesn't really matter where they land in terms of their fans. I think they're all.
And who's gonna be third then this year? If well, Mercedes and Red Bull first, second in whatever order, and then McLaren, Aston Martin, or Alpine for third.
I think Williams.
Haas.
Yeah, Haas.
With the rookies. Yeah.
It's tough to say. It's between McLaren and Aston for me.
I don't know. Alpine, Alonso seemed to be very strong.
Yeah, but with Alpine, it's sort of like I feel like it's forever like reliability issues. Like they when they're able to go all the way, like they look very strong, but ultimately they had a few retirements and the car doesn't always look as great.
Right.
In every race. So I think McLaren and Aston has more of a all-round package. Well,
like I would bet on McLaren because last season was great. Testing, they looked very happy.
Yeah. And they got Ricciardo this year.
Yeah, Ricciardo, which is a great driver, and they have the Mercedes engine.
That as well.
So I would say McLaren third, but again, Aston Martin now has Seb, which like last season was terrible, but hopefully this season is better.
He was driving a tractor though, so.
Well, Charles as well, but he got twice as many podiums.
Yeah. But I think it's what should I say?
That Vettel is doing better this season, hopefully.
Yeah. But I think the reason why he didn't do well at Ferrari last season, like Charles did a lot better, but Charles sort of has to try to. Well, it's like what did he have to fight for? It's like before the first race, he was out. So I agree with you. I think it's McLaren that is going to take it. But I think Aston will be very competitive this year as well.
Like I hope for it. They're so pretty, the car.
Yeah, the car really deserves it. So yeah, I think McLaren takes it, but it's going to be close with Aston, and I think Alpine is probably going to be close ish. We'll see.
We'll see.
It would be fun if it was a battle like last year, like 3-way tie basically into the last race.
Like honestly, at some point, not even like maybe halfway through the season, it was literally 1 point.
Yeah.
Between the three teams.
It was only like 25 by the last race as well.
Yeah, like 10 and then 12
yeah.
again. But yeah, 1 point is just so close. It's like if they wanted to do it on purpose, they couldn't have done it better, you know?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Anyways, next weekend is Bahrain.
Bahrain, yes.
So, what would you say the podium is after testing and last season and the new driver lineup and everything?
It is I think Red Bull is gonna do well because they looked good in testing there with the wins and stuff, and they did fairly well at that track anyways. At least for the first one.
Well,
with both Albon and Max on the podium.
Yeah, but Sergio won the second one anyways, which is not the same track.
Yeah, it's a different track.
Same place.
Yeah, it's the same place but different track.
Yeah, but then Max, did well during the first race, and Sergio did extremely well during the second race. So they should be strong.
They should be strong.
But again, Mercedes is just dominant. So.
Yeah. Well, Lewis drove the first one, right?
Yeah, and then. George. Like, I'm still mad about that one. It was so sad.
Let's not even go into that one. Too painful.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. Mercedes, not messing up a single time during all the previous races. Yeah. And then, when George actually has a shot at winning a race, then they put the wrong tires on.
No can do.
Yeah. Like, let's not do like every other time.
Yeah. No, so I think, I also think Aston is going to be good there because regardless of if it was Sergio in the car last year, but he was on his way for third place in the first, but then his engine
true
blew, and then Albon inherited the third place. So let's say first place it will be Lewis and then I think Max, and then it's hard to say because Sergio and Vettel still has to get used to the car.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like it's a 50-50 if any of them is going to be up there. Same with Ricardo. They did 5th and 6th, or McLaren did 5th and 6th, I think.
Yeah, I think.
So I think like those 4 teams is going to be up there fighting. I think Max and Lewis is probably the ones that are going to fight for the win.
Well, BOTTAS as well, because at least in the beginning of the season, he still has the hope of winning.
He's gonna come. I think he's gonna come out guns blazing. To be honest, he's gonna come to win. Like
at least in the beginning of the season, he always
he's
more
strong
motivated.
in the beginning of the season. So it's gonna be BOTTAS, Max, and Lewis then fighting, and then it's sort of like. But I feel like whoever, like Ricardo, Lando, Stroll, I don't think he can be there, but he's probably going to crash. But Vettel, if he has control of the car, he can be up there.
Well, he wasn't doing so hot during testing.
Yeah, well, that's not really his fault. Yeah. Like the car was in the garage for most of the time.
Well, it's like a difference between what we think is going to happen, which is Max Lewis and Valtteri, and what we want to happen, which is Seb, Ricardo, and Sergio fighting in there.
Well, let's say Lewis first, Bottas second, Max third, Sergio fourth. And then.
Well, I would argue Lewis first, and then Max second actually, because it was so close to second place, like for the driver standing last season.
It depends on how the Mercedes looks, obviously, and how the Red Bull looks.
True.
I think like whether Max gets second or third, or if it's Bottas that gets second or third, like those two is quite close in that category.
But if that was last season that they were so close, and then if the Red Bull is so much better this season, then Max gets second, or maybe first even.
Yeah, we'll see. If it's like you talked about that they're not showing their hands, then technically Max should be third.
Yeah. All right, I think that's a wrap for the first episode.
I think that's a wrap.
See you next Sunday for.
More Pitwall chat.
And the recap of hopefully an exciting first race of the 2021 F1 season in Bahrain.
Very much so. I'm looking forward to it.
Same.
All right.
Have a great week and see you next week. Bye.